Welcome to another episode of Storytime with BDD. I'm your host, BDD, aka Brooklyn Dad. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome and happy Friday to you all. Welcome to another episode of the show. It's been a busy week, hectic week. It's been an enjoyable week, satisfying, sometimes dissatisfying. It's been a week. But above all, I'm happy that you guys joined me here. Thank you so much for coming. Um, so let's see. Ra-ta-ta-ta-ta. Some new stuff happening this week, too. Some of you may have heard the trailer for the new podcast, Defiant. And I had my very first interview for that podcast. It was fun. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the other things. But first, let's do a recap of today's stories in what I like to call stories of the day.
Stories of the day.
Stories of the day. Yes. So today's title page says Arizona abortion disaster. Hush money trial begins. OJ Simpson dead. Okay. We're starting off with the Arizona Supreme Court has decided that it needed to go all the way back 160 years to 1864, a dusty old law that unfortunately revokes the rights of women to have an abortion. And not only that, criminalizes the act. It's horrible. And of course, the OJ Simpson was a polarizing figure. He was an athlete. He was an actor. He was a murderer. But he was acquitted of murder. And now he's dead. He's died of cancer. Cancer has issued a statement saying that it is looking for, if it did it, no, it's saying it's looking for the real killer. And the trial of the decade, no, not the trial of the decade, maybe the trial of the year, no, maybe the trial of the month. The trial of the month. Donald Trump's election interference case, aka the hush money case, the hush money paid to Stormy Daniels to stay quiet about the sexual interlude they had. That starts jury selection this Monday. And before I go any further, please let me remind you all, if you are just joining us, if this is your first time here, please make sure you hit the subscribe button in your lower right corner of the screen. Also remember to please hit that thumbs up. It's the like button. Do that. It helps the show. It helps us to be found by other viewers. And let me just say a quick hello to some of my friends here. We got Zelda. Welcome, Zelda. Zelda is back at the top. She was foist, followed by Aries Wanderer. And let's see. Claudia is here. Samantha Hawkins is here. Monique Lee is here. Mama AG, Lori B, the Trump Reaper, Jenny Rayner, Sandra from Paramount, California, the gang, Lulu Girl, CF. The gang is all here. Welcome, you guys. And Zelda, thank you so kindly. Thank you very much for the very kind, very generous donation. You are literally helping keep this show going. Appreciate you. Okay, so let's jump into what we're going to jump into. Okay, so first things first, the Defiant, the first episode of the Defiant, an actual podcast. So let's clarify what I mean by that. I've been doing this show for about 3 years now, and have not have not bothered to post any of the audio from this show anywhere. You can't find these things on Apple or Spotify or Amazon. You can't find it anywhere where podcasts are heard and downloaded. I never bothered to do that. Never even figured out how you do that. How do you upload these things and turn it into a podcast? And I never figured that out. So I was fortunate enough to be introduced to some folks who used to work with Michael Cohen, and they were like, "Hey, yeah, let's join forces and let's see what we can see and let's do what we can do." They even have provided a what do you call a theme song for the show. I'm going to attempt to play this for you now. If it doesn't work, then I don't know what to tell you here, but I'm going to attempt to play this thing. Where is it? Media player. Let's do this. Let me know if you guys can hear that. Let me start over. Ah, damn. See, it's not working. Okay. You guys let me dance there for like a good 30 seconds with with no sound. That's fine. Um, no nothing, no sound. Yeah, I had it up. So sorry guys. You will hear it on Monday. Tomorrow there is going to be an article in Raw Story. They interviewed me for Raw Story about the podcast. So check out Raw Story tomorrow at some point, maybe after 12 noon or something. Um, and so my very first interview was with former FBI Assistant Director Frank Figluzzi, the Assistant Director of the Counterintelligence Unit, and he's currently an MSNBC contributor and writer as well. So that was a great interview. We talked about a range of things, and we also talked about a book that he has written that I can't wait to read. It's called Long Haul. His book, it's not available yet, but I've already pre-ordered it. Long Haul. It's about if you guys like true crime things, you like those crime podcasts, you will enjoy this. It is about his um, search of highway serial killers who work as long haul truck drivers. Spooky stuff, but very, very interesting. And yeah, I look forward to that. Now, I really want to talk to you guys about this movie that Wifey and I watched. Wait, actually, no, it was just me. Wifey didn't watch it. I watched it solo. We are going to watch this together, though. It's called Runaway Jury. How did I miss this one? This one is chock full of celebrities. It's from, I think, 2000, the early 2000s, somewhere between 2003 and 2008. It's starring Gene Hackman, Dustin Hoffman, John Cusack, Rachel Weisz, and it's about a case involving, it was a mass shooting, right? Let me just tell you. So there was a mass shooting that happened, and a lot of people died, but one of them, his wife, files a lawsuit against the gun manufacturer, right? So the whole premise of this movie is that this gun manufacturer is being sued, and the most crucial thing about this case is presented as the jury selection, the selection of the jury. And the way this jury selection process is, wait, let me get this back up on my screen here. Where is it? The way this jury selection process is portrayed, it's very slick, it's very high tech. Gene Hackman is the guy working for the defense, right? He is working for the gun manufacturer. And so I guess they can spare there's no expense that's too high, and they do everything that they can to get a bead on what kind of people are in the jury before they say yes or no to them. So, like, they have cameras set up everywhere. They're watching them go shopping for groceries. They're interacting with them. They send actors to go approach them in a bar and strike up a conversation with them just to get a feel for, should we have this person on the jury or not? Got to be extremely expensive process. And I am going to ask one of my one of my guests on the show later this week, Harry Littman. I'm hoping to ask him about this process and see, is that real? Does that really happen? And yes, Simon, very good point. Excellent point. It is more relevant now than when it was made, for those reasons, for the reason of the gun manufacturer. That is actually a topic that people have been talking about, suing the gun manufacturers, and also jury selection, which begins Monday for Donald Trump's case. Now, Curb Your Enthusiasm is no more. It has landed the plane. The last episode of season 12, Curb Your Enthusiasm, aired this past Sunday. Let me just say, I was sorry to see it go, but it did its thing. It was very good. I promise no spoilers here, guys. If you have not seen it yet, I will not spoil here. Let's see. Do we have Popular Liberal here? Let's see. This is Unlimited Society. Hello, BDD. I have not yet created a YouTube page focused on popular liberal content, but I'm happy to be part of this community. Ladies and gentlemen, we have, you may recognize this young man from Twitter, Popular Liberal. His stuff is everywhere. So welcome, my friend. Glad to have you here. He did message me and said he would be happy to retweet my show tweet, and so he has done so. Welcome, my friend. Thank you for joining us. Curb Your Enthusiasm. Oh, wait. Chris Passeri. We're going back to the Runaway Jury. It says, Gene Hackman will always be Lex Luthor. I don't care what anyone else says. Just before I get into Curb Your Enthusiasm, this movie, Runaway Jury, I highly recommend it. It's a great watch. It's suspenseful. It's got some action in it, some great acting performances. Thumbs up all the way. Please check it out. Let's see. Where did I see it? I think I may have. I don't remember where I saw it. I think I may have streamed it on YouTube. Actually, I think I streamed it on YouTube. Yeah. Anyway, getting back to Curb Your Enthusiasm. No spoilers. I will say this though, and it's not a spoiler, but if you hated the series finale of Seinfeld, you will like this. that's what I'll say. It's not a secret to say that the culmination of the story arc for the season was that Larry David gave Aunt, what was it? Was it Aunt Viv or Aunt Vi? Gave her a bottle of water as she was standing online waiting to cast her vote. Now, as we know, in Georgia, that's illegal. It is illegal to pass out food or water to anyone online. Now, it's questionable whether or not Larry actually knew that this was a law, or he was just doing it because Larry David does what Larry David wants to do. But he gave her a bottle of water. He was promptly arrested, and then he became even more of a celebrity because of this act. He became popular. And so, anyway, the whole season kind of dips in and dips out on this storyline. And finally, for the last episode, there is a jury selection process for this. And I was actually surprised. This is another thing. I was surprised that Larry was in the courtroom while the jury was being selected. And he had the audacity to make suggestions to his lawyer which ones she should keep and which ones she should dismiss. Because you may or may not know, each team, the defense and the plaintiff, they have challenges and they get to dismiss certain jurors or keep them. And so Larry, in his very Larry David way, was suggesting people to dismiss because he didn't like the T-shirt they were wearing or the hat, or just like very irrelevant things that that's what Larry David does. And she actually listened to him, which I thought was even worse. So I will leave it at that. It's very funny. It's on HBO. And I'll say this, right? I see some people saying they didn't really get Seinfeld or didn't like it. Watch Seinfeld if you can. If you can. And I would suggest maybe skip the first 2 episodes. The first episode, there's no Elaine. But skip the first 2. And from then on to the end, from season 1 to season 9 or whatever, 10. And then not only will you get the ending, but you will appreciate it. Because when I first watched the series finale, not only did I not get it, I hated it. I was like, are you kidding me? These guys all end up in prison? That's stupid. And that's what the general public, that's what their reaction was too. Then when I watched it from beginning to end, like I binge watched it on Netflix, I was like, oh, these are horrible people. Yeah, they're the people that we're watching, Jerry and George and Elaine and Kramer. They're the protagonists of this show, but they are shitty people. Very shitty people. And that's the inside joke. That is the inside joke of the show. We're watching this show about nothing, and they get into very petty disputes and backstabbing and all neuroses, and they are horrible, selfish people, and that gets that gets presented to the viewer in the very last episode, the series finale. They show you how horrible, through a series of flashbacks, recaps, et cetera. You see why they're so horrible. And so with that in mind, I was like, oh, okay, these are shitty people. Yeah, throw them in prison. So anyway, that's that for Seinfeld. Now, next up, oh yeah, R.I.P. Jerry Stiller. Jerry Stiller was funny, very funny guy. And I love Seinfeld, by the way. I have watched the whole show from beginning to end like 5 times. Really funny ass show, very rewatchable. So Fallout is a video game. It's one of those video games that I've never bothered to play because it's like I think you call it a first-person shooter game, role-playing game, maybe RPG, whatever. It's one of those games where you can see your hand holding the gun and you're going around into different situations, and it's not for me. My video games have always been the fighting games like Tekken, um, uh, Mortal Kombat, things like that, things that involve fighting, and that's that. But anyway, Fallout has been made into a TV show the same way HBO turned a game called what's the name of that I can't remember the Pedro Pascal It is, can't remember it, but anyway, Fallout is now a TV show on. Somebody help me out with that one here. Fallout is now a TV show on Amazon Prime. Wifey and I watched the first 2 episodes last night, and it's phenomenal. It's really good. And I'm speaking as someone who has no The Last of Us. Thank you, Samantha Hawkins. Samantha Hawkins. The Last of Us. That is also an excellent show on HBO. Fallout. It's tremendous. It's tremendous. He's ruined that word for us. It's a great show, and it's basically, I'll give you the synopsis here. A nuclear war happens like 50 years from now. And for some reason, in the year 2077, in this show, it looks like the 50s. That's whatever. Fast forward, then the show fast forwards you 200 years, 200 plus years later. People have been living underground in these things called vaults, right? And only people who were living in these vaults were people who were rich, who could afford the fallout shelters, and then those fallout shelters evolved into these vaults that are highly sophisticated, et cetera, et cetera. Meanwhile, the rest of the folks, the rest of the survivors, were still above. And that's all I'll say. It is post-apocalyptic, as Chris Passeri helpfully mentions here. I don't know about Road Warrior, Trump Reaper. It's not very Road Warrior, although there are some elements. I'm only 2 episodes deep, so maybe it is, but it's really fascinating. It's a great watch. If you like science fiction, if you like post-apocalyptic stuff, check it out. It's very good. Last but not least, movie that I haven't seen yet, I have read reviews of, and despite the reviews, the reviews have not been kind to this movie. It's a movie called Argylle, like the sock, Argyle socks. Despite the lukewarm to poor reviews of this movie, I plan to see it. Why? Because it's chock full of celebrities that I happen to like. We have Superman there, Henry Cavill. We got Sam Rockwell. We have Ron Howard's daughter. What's her name? Hang on, I wrote her name down. Bryce Dallas Howard. I want to remember that. Bryan Cranston from Breaking Bad is in this. Samuel L. Jackson. I'm not sure who that lady is. It might be Dua Lipa. John Cena is in it. It's chock full of celebrities there. So I'm really, really looking forward to seeing this movie. And the movie is about Bryce Dallas Howard plays a writer. She writes, I think, spy novels. And she's on her way somewhere, and suddenly her spy novel comes to life, and people start engaging with her. And people from her spy novel start engaging with her. And so she's in the thick of it, and there's a cat involved. I don't know. I'll let you know. If you don't see me tweet about it, then it was probably horrible. It's funny because I do review a lot of movies and TV shows here on the show and on Twitter. If I really, really love something, then I will say, I love it. But if I don't really dig it, if I'm lukewarm on it, I don't see any reason for me to add my voice to the chorus of people trashing it, unless it is so egregiously bad that I feel compelled, like it's my duty to let you guys know. Don't waste your time. Don't watch it. Okay. So, as some of you had mentioned earlier, this week was the solar eclipse. And it's funny too, because this is one of those things where I was like, everybody is always saying this is the last solar eclipse that we're going to see for the next 150 years, or it always feels like every 2 or 3 years you're like, there's never going to be another one again, except for next week. Anyway, the solar eclipse that we saw earlier this week, April 8th, was a special one. It was a totality, and the totality meant that that the moon was going to cover the sun perfectly. And this is interesting. I just learned, right? Just learned that the moon is 400 times smaller than the sun, and it is 400 400 times further away from the sun. The distance is 400 times, something like that. Anyway, the size of the moon and the distance of the moon from the sun are what make our solar eclipses uniquely unique, super duper special. Like you'll never ever see it in any other planet in the galaxy, definitely in the solar system, and possibly in the galaxy. So that's fascinating. When at someday someone will be able to prove or disprove that statement, but currently there's nobody even capable of making it to Mars and back. And Claudia here says she only saw a partial in Boston. It was still cool. So I saw a partial also, and sadly, there was just a select few people who were able to see the quote unquote totality. They were in the path of the totality, and that path started in Mexico and it made its way up diagonally northeast. It went through Texas and Indiana and Cleveland, Ohio, Buffalo, New York, Maine, and at first I was like, it's just, what's the big deal? It's an eclipse. But some people actually, they spent overall $1.5 billion was spent chasing down this eclipse. Like people were flying to different cities because they knew that city was going to be in the path of the totality and they wanted to see it. So they paid airfare and they got a hotel and they ate out and stuff like that. So $1.5 billion for this. So I wasn't fortunate enough to be in the path of the totality. So I had, like many of you, had to watch it on TV on CNN. I watched it on CNN. I don't normally like to watch CNN, but I think it was because it was the afternoon and I couldn't tolerate I couldn't tolerate Katie Tur or anyone else in the afternoon. MSNBC really is not watchable until Nicole Wallace shows up. When Nicole Wallace gets there, it's some good watching. Some good watching. Anyway, so CNN did this thing that I thought was very cool. I don't know if MSNBC did the same thing, but they showed it in Texas and then they showed it in Indiana, and there was like a few minutes difference between each of the locations. And I thought that was pretty cool. I was like, hang on a second. Why isn't everybody seeing the eclipse all at the same time? Duh, because I'm not a science guy, but whatever. I assume because it's the same sun and the same moon, everybody sees it at the same time, but we're all in different time zones. So anyway, there was like a gap in between each of the cities, which set up perfectly the reporting from each location. And I thought, the reporters were there and they were like, okay, people are milling about and they're telling you what the scene is. And then you can see the sky getting darker. And I could see the reporter, like their whole mood. They like completely lost their professionalism. One was like, oh, whoa, whoa. And as I'm watching along with everybody else, it was beautiful. right? Because as you're watching the moon, you can see the moon slowly come into place, and then everything disappears. It's just black. And then a second or two later, then you see the ring around it. And, it's like, it's emotional. I wasn't even there to see it in person, but it was still kind of emotional too. It was beautiful. And I was like, wow, because of our unique position in the solar system and distance from the sun, we're able to get this miraculous thing. So, yeah, it's my goal. The next one is going to be here in the United States in 20 years from now, the year 2044. I hope I'm alive, knock on wood. I hope I'm alive to see that. And if not, I hope in a few years I'm able to afford to go somewhere the way all these other folks have been able to go and chase an eclipse. And in a galaxy not too far away, Mark Hamill announced earlier this week, I think it was yesterday, the day before, announced that, what date does that say? April 9th. So it was a couple of days ago. Announced that he is going to endorse President Biden in the 2024 election. Now, he quote tweeted Mark Cuban, and Mark Cuban is also endorsing President Biden in the 2024 election. Mark Cuban is a well-known Republican. And he's interesting because he's Republican. Maybe I don't know, maybe he's independent. I think he's Republican. But he's like a common sense kind of guy. I'm sure we disagree on certain things in certain areas, but Mark Cuban often makes more sense than not, especially when he goes head to head with Elon Musk. So he's an interesting guy to the Marks. Yeah, yay Marks. Yeah, two good dudes indeed. Your mom. And Chris Passeri says, "May the force be with us all." Yes. Okay. So the reason these guys came out specifically and said that they will be endorsing President Biden, it wasn't because, well, I'll just tell you why. It was because Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson was recently interviewed and made it known that he, despite having supported and endorsed President Biden in the 2020 election, that he is no longer able to do so. In fact, he stated his regret in having done so in the 2020 election. So disappointing, man. I'm giving you you don't even deserve the eyebrow, man. I'm claiming that eyebrow from you. You don't deserve it. We smell what you're cooking and it's bullshit. It's bullshit. You scared? He's scared of. I don't know that he's scared. I think he knows that Donald Trump is polarizing and that Joe Biden is polarizing, and I think he thinks it's a business decision. But dude, you fucking live here with the rest of us, man. Come on. Come on. You know what the other guy is about. It's not like there's a slight difference between the two. It's a humongous difference. One of them tried to undo democracy, tried to stay the fuck in office illegally. The other guy is a little bit older, extremely experienced, very compassionate, knowledgeable, level headed. I could go on. Productive, responsible, normal. These things make a difference. It's unreal. It's unreal that otherwise normal, regular people are like, I don't know. It's such a hard decision. These people who would normally be intelligent, you would think. Like I saw this guy, John Bolton. John Bolton? Dude with the mustache? I think his name is, yes, it's John Bolton. What a fucking asshole. He was on Nicole Wallace's show, and I gotta hand it to Nicole Wallace. She held her ground. She did not cede anything. When he was waffling on who he would vote for, he was like, I'm gonna write somebody in. But you clearly oppose Donald Trump. You clearly think that he is unfit. Oh, well, so is Joe Biden. No, dude, that's not the answer. There's no person you write in, John Bolton, no person you write in has a shot in hell at getting elected. Okay, you idiot. No person. There's two guys who are running who have a legit shot at getting in. You're going to write somebody in? You're going to waste that vote? Not only are you wasting that vote, but his opinion, his intended action is being broadcast out there, it's giving other people, like-minded people, oh yeah, that's a good idea. I think I'll write in too, because what matters? It doesn't matter. If enough people do a dumb thing, it has consequences. God damn it. yeah. Yeah. Trump did call him Michael Bolton. I'm sure of it. I'm sure. And this is a good one here. Kind of echoes something that I tweeted earlier this week. This is nice. Your mom says Biden has had tremendous losses in his life and has actually shown human emotions regarding his loss, unlike Humpty Dumpty. Thank you for that. That's funny. Okay. So, speaking of President Biden, let's get to the good stuff. President Biden is, if it's a day ending in Y, President Biden is pushing the ball forward, helping to improve the lives of regular Americans like you and I. For instance, he is once again taking action to cancel student debt or forgive student debt for 277,000 Americans. I believe that results in it's something like $7.5 billion. $7.5 billion for 277,000. How am I remembering these numbers? 277,000 borrowers who have been paying. It's not like these people are delinquent on the payments. They've been making payments for 20 plus years, and their amounts are either the same or higher than when they first started paying because these fucking interest rates are killing them. So President Biden is forgiving the debts for them. I think that's a tremendous thing. These are people, like I said, doing everything they can to get out from under it, and they're not going to be able to. And somebody has to do something about these predatory loans and these runaway, outrageous interest rates. Interest is horrendous. That shit has to be brought under control. I would like to see some regulation for that shit. I would. Some serious regulation. And the insurance, not insurance, the banks and whatever, those money managers, they are the ones standing in the way. So it's going to take some brave political work to make that happen. Oh, hey, we have somebody on this show. Jenny Rayner finally had her student loan forgiven. Holy shit, 8,000 just in interest. That's fantastic. Thank you for sharing that, Jenny. That is great news. I love it. I love it so much. I love it. And somebody answering the question I was looking for a half hour ago. Last of Us. Very good. Okay. So not only that, but President Biden has also taken action. This was yesterday to close a loophole. We've been hearing about these loopholes with gun violence and gun reform. There's one particular loophole that involves gun shows, right? And people have been able to buy guns from unlicensed dealers, and those unlicensed dealers are not compelled to perform a background check on buyers. That's the loophole. Just go to an unlicensed dealer, no background check. No more. That shit is canceled. Canceled just like that, canceled. So it's very good. I love that so much. These are things, so that's already two actions President Biden has taken in gun reform in just a short period of time he's been in office. Thank you, President Biden. Meanwhile, Spanky McDumbass is not having a good time with his stocks. Specifically, I'm talking about the Truth Social stock, which is under the Trump Media. Also, I think it goes by DJT on the ticker, right? DJT stock started off very well, started off strong, $79 each. Somehow, it's mind-boggling how it was valuated so high. It's been overvalued, and many observers have noted this. I'm not even a stock guy. I don't even pay attention to this shit. But people who pay attention were like, "Oh, that's way overvalued." So it opened at $79 and quickly plummeted to 40, I think 48, 49 like a week ago, and it just keeps on tumbling. Today it's down to $32. So that's quite a precipitous fall from 79 to 32, and he's wiped out billions of dollars in in value. Only Donald Trump can wipe out billions in just 2 weeks. Maybe Elon Musk also, but we know for a fact Donald Trump definitely everything he touches, you know the saying. So Donald Trump had like a bee in his bonnet after President Biden's hugely successful fundraising effort. Now, there were people on the right who were poo-pooing his fundraising success. Last week, President Biden raised $25 million one night. One night was also supported by former presidents Obama and Clinton. So there you have three living presidents right there, and there was a whole cast of celebrities who showed up, and it was a great gala. But here's the interesting thing, right? The majority of support, majority of financial support, did not come from billionaire A and billionaire B and billionaire C. No, they were like regular people who were making donations of like $250 to up to $2,000. That was the majority of the money that was raised for that. So, not to be outdone, Donald Trump had his own fundraiser at Mar-a-Lago, and then he announced, with not showing any proof of this whatsoever, he announced that they had raised twice as much, $50 million in one night. Sure, you're right. Nobody. I remember when I was a kid and the first time I heard the whole little boy who cried wolf story. If you keep crying wolf, nobody's going to believe you when you want them to believe you. And sorry, Donnie, you've already been found guilty of overvaluing your shit, of lying to say that, the value of this is 1.5 billion instead of 15 million. Come on, man. So yeah, nobody believes that shit. Yeah, here Lulu Girl says pledges don't count. Here's Unlimited Society. I believe that's Popular Liberals saying Republicans lied and said Trump had a $52 million fundraiser. Ridiculous. Ridiculous is what I say. Ridiculous indeed. Here we go. Phyllis saying, actually, I think the word was commitments to donate. Yeah. Jesus, that's funny. And Steve McLeod is saying, yes, she was pissed and drunk. I assume you're talking about Melania standing there with her hand in her pocket saying, no, Donald, you will not touch me. I don't want it. You change your diaper, you stink. Excuse me. Where's the guy to change you? I don't love the smell of you at all. It's disgusting. So in other news, OJ Simpson is dead at 76. I wasn't sad about it. I wasn't happy either. I'm non-committal about OJ Simpson. There's some people who were thrilled at the news that he died, and that's understandable because he was in what we know now as the trial of the century, in which he was being tried for the murder of Ron Goldman and Nicole Simpson. And he was acquitted. There's a lot of people who felt like he got away with murder. Personally, me, I think he did. I'm pretty sure he did. Pretty sure, without a doubt. I remember when this whole thing happened, it was very surrealistic. I was watching the NBA finals. My Knicks were in the finals against the Houston Rockets. And suddenly, we have a special report. And we, like everybody else, we saw this slow motion chase with like 20 police cars following this white Ford Bronco. That was bizarre as hell. And I'll never forget, I'm watching this with a bunch of my friends, and my buddy Rob says, yo, Majid, he did that shit. And everybody was like, yeah, he probably did. And the more I heard, and this was a trial. This was my first time actually paying attention to a trial. And it was such a surrealistic thing. He had this super legal team. He had Johnny Cochran and what's that Kardashian Kim Kardashian's father, I think his name was Robert, and all these other people were supporting him. This was the first time that I'd ever seen anything like this, right? And Johnny Cochran was this guy who, he had the gift of gab and he made things rhyme, and it was entertaining. And this whole thing, I know people died in this thing, but everybody's watching this as though it's like a TV show. But there were real feelings invested in the outcome of this thing, the same way there were real feelings invested in the outcome of Casey Anthony. The difference with this is when the OJ Simpson trial came out, it happened just on the heels of the Rodney King incident and the Rodney King verdict. As we know, the whole world saw Rodney King. Oh yeah, the if it doesn't fit, you must acquit. The whole world saw Rodney King get beaten almost to death by cops, by 4 Los Angeles police officers, beating him with those nightsticks. And this was captured on video. This was like the first time, like now when things are captured on video, whether it's by body cam or a bystander, it's no big deal because everybody's got a phone with a camera and a video capability. But back then, you almost never see this sort of thing, and somebody just happened to be in the right place at the right time. This guy, they had chased him down, and finally caught up to him. And the cops were so mad they beat him. And somebody happened to be within range to capture this on video. So when the cops were acquitted of this, Los Angeles erupted. And it wasn't just Los Angeles. This was like an eruption everywhere. The LA riots were also happening in other pockets of the nation. People were furious. Why? Why was there this visceral reaction from a verdict that had nothing to do with anybody really but Rodney King and those 4 cops? It's not like, all of his family members, were rioting. No, these were just people who they felt a vested interest in the outcome of this trial. Why? There was a book that came out that I read back then. It was called Black Robes, White Justice. For the life of me, I cannot remember the judge who wrote this book. It was like, I want to say his name was Bruce Wright, maybe. It's a fascinating book, but basically the title tells it all. Is that there are 2 criminal justice systems, one for white people and one for black people, one for the well-to-do and one for the poor, right? And so the OJ Simpson trial kind of developed in the wake of all of these injustices. And so people were like tacking on their feelings of fuck this unjust justice system. It's always against us. Now finally one of ours has the money, the resources to get off. That's what was happening. I'm telling you this because it was not a pretty moment for us in history. When I say us, I mean people of color. We kind of showed our asses at that moment. And we felt it was justified, because, as I said, historically, black people have been always on the wrong receiving end of justice. But as I said, not a proud moment. A lot of us, like I said, believed that OJ did it. We weren't cheering the fact that he murdered someone and got away with it. We were cheering the fact that finally one of ours received a verdict where he didn't get screwed because he was black. So at the end of the day, OJ Simpson was still ended up in prison because he was an idiot. He was an asshole. Actually, he was an asshole. I found this meme. It says, "A reviled American and OJ Simpson." It makes sense that the 2 of them would be aligned. Yeah. Let's jump on to the 1864 Arizona Arizona law. So the Supreme Court, before I get onto the Supreme Court, 1864, the United States was a very different place. First of all, slavery was still legal. And not only was slavery still legal, but black people were only 3/5 of a person. This was in the goddamn Constitution. The thing that people hold in such high regard. Oh, the founding fathers put this thing together. The founding fathers were not infallible. I feel like I have to say this on repeat because they're making decisions and they're writing things based on their limited knowledge, limited ethical and moral knowledge of their world back then. Back then, slavery was past assault. It was fine. Back then, everybody had slaves. All the presidents had slaves. Thomas Jefferson and George Washington, all these guys that they're held in such high regard. Everybody had a goddamn slave. So, Also, women couldn't vote. Child labor laws were non-existent. And forget about, um, protecting children, huh? People marrying little girls at, the age of 12. Sick. So back then, 160 years ago, so the Supreme Court in Arizona found itself reinstating a 160-year-old abortion ban, effectively killing abortion in Arizona, revoking the right of women to decide what is best for their own bodies, women and girls. Because let's keep in mind, I see people replying to my tweets about abortion all the time. Oh, what about, so you don't think women should have to be responsible for the kind of sex they engage in? Well, if you have a 10-year-old girl who gets overpowered by her father or her uncle or some strange person and rapes her, she should be responsible for that? Get the fuck out of here, you idiot. So, the 160-year-old abortion ban says that the 1864 law bans all abortions from conception unless the pregnant person's life is in danger. So that's it. That is the only exception, the life of the mother. There are no exceptions for rape or incest. Isn't that nice? Yes, this law was written before Arizona was a state. It wasn't even a state yet. And yes, this law was written before women had the right to vote. Now, this is an important distinction to make because women do have electoral power. Indeed, they do. And it is my hope and belief that come Rovember, this wrong and many other wrongs will be righted. Excuse me. In fact, I'm not the only one who believes this. There are Republicans who are like, uh-oh, we caught the car. What are we going to do? So some people are trying to back away from this law. By some people, I mean Kari Lake, who's running for Senate, and even Donald Trump. Donald Trump was asked by a reporter if he thought that the Supreme Court overstepped. And that was his out. That was his out. They lobbed him a softball. Oh, yeah, they overstepped, but we'll get that fixed. We'll get it straightened out, whatever. Kari Lake is also trying to backtrack her own statements specifically in support of that law. And if you just give me a not even a full minute, let me just locate that clip I have for you here. I have it right here.
The new law banning abortion. Kari, we'll start with you on this one. The new law banning abortion, the new law banning abortion in Arizona after 15 weeks. There's that law, and there's a territorial era law which bans all abortion. Zippo, over. Which law do you think should take effect?
My personal belief is that all life matters, all life counts, and all life is precious, and I don't believe in abortion. I think the older law is going to go into effect. That's what I believe will happen.
Okay, but you approve of that? At conception?
I believe life begins at conception.
Okay, what do we do about abortion pills? What do we do about?
I don't think abortion pills should be legal. That's
not in Arizona. Karen, what do you think?
Okay. So there it is, right out of her own mouth. She believed that the 1864 abortion law should be in order, and then she just released an ad trying to backtrack and say, actually, what had happened was, she's trying to, she's trying trying to undo the damage of that statement. But we're not buying it, and we're going to remind folks as often as we can when people are trying to talk out of both sides of their mouth. And now, speaking of speaking out of both sides of your mouth, there's Mike Johnson right there. Mike Johnson is facing an uphill battle to keep his job in the House as House Speaker, because Marjorie Taylor Greene has she's broadcasted her threat to make a motion to vacate the seat last week, or was it the week before, when they went to take a break, and one of their many breaks that they take. She's threatening to have him dismissed, and it only takes one person, because of a stupid law that the Republican House enacted. It only takes one person to unseat the speaker. So she is threatening to have him removed if he agrees to let Ukraine aid be voted on the floor. That's it. And that's one area that I think he should. I absolutely think he should let it come to a vote. And I think Democrats should support him. They should have his back on that. I don't know if they can squeeze any more concessions out of him, but getting aid to Ukraine is pretty damn important. And why is aid for Ukraine important? Because there's a lot of people who get upset. People, when I say people, I mean Trumpers, and Republicans and conservatives. Oh, why do we care about Ukraine? We have our own problems here. So, we can't walk and chew gum at the same time. We can focus on both domestic and international foreign affairs at the same time, because we are the United States of America. We are the greatest country on earth. We are exceptional. We make a big deal out of telling ourselves how exceptional we are and telling other people. We are the leaders of the free world. And right now, one of our neighbors, distant neighbor, but still a neighbor, Ukraine, is under attack. They've been invaded by Russia. Russia is not our friend. Russia is not our friend because after they finish taking Ukraine, they want to take more. And Marjorie Taylor Greene today said, I don't know why people think that they're going to take more land. Vladimir Putin never said he was going to take more land, but does that mean that he's not going to? It just means he didn't tell your dumbass. So in the instance that let's say Ukraine falls, let's say Vladimir Putin is successful in taking Ukraine. Well, who is Russia's biggest adversary is the United States. And when he sees that he was successful in co-opting one of the major political parties of the United States and handicapping us, preventing us from giving our ally support, that's going to embolden him. Why wouldn't it? I just took your shit and you didn't do nothing about it. I'm going to take some more shit. That's what he's going to do. And then what happens? When he goes to Poland, there's no American boots on the ground in Ukraine. They go to Poland. Poland is a full-on member of NATO. They invade Poland, they're going to be American boots on the ground. And if you don't fix this situation now, you don't keep him in check now, you're going to pay for it later. And it's so easy to see that. Oh, but we have financial problems. Why are we giving Ukraine all this money? Well, 90% of the aid to Ukraine actually gets spent here in the United States, manufacturing the weapons Ukrainians need. They get manufactured here. That money is not spent in Ukraine. It's spent here. 31 states in total are manufacturing bombs and drones and bullets and this, that, and the other. Then it gets shipped over there. So we're creating jobs, and those jobs, the money gets spent, goes right into our economy. So we are helping America by helping Ukraine. So right now, Mike Johnson is kowtowing. He's bowing down to Trump at Mar-a-Lago. Presumably to seek shelter from Marjorie Taylor Greene in the arms of Donald Trump, who is very accustomed to grabbing him by the pussy. So he's going to grab another pussy today. And this is disgraceful. Both of these guys, both of them, the two of them are supposedly having a discussion on election integrity, which is insane. It's insane. It's like I tweeted earlier. It's like Jeffrey Dahmer lecturing people on not eating other human beings. Election integrity. These two guys, they both were in cahoots in this fake elector scheme to overturn the very legal and very cool election result from 2020. They're both insurrectionists. They're both seditious traitors. It's horrible. It's horrible. Horrible. So what they're discussing in an election with election integrity is they want to create a law that prevents non-citizens from voting, which that's already a law. It's already not legal for non-citizens to vote in a presidential election. I'm saying presidential election because then I was just watching TV maybe an hour or so ago, and somebody said, actually, there are some few instances, I think in small local, maybe some local elections where there's some extenuating circumstances. I don't know the exact particulars. I have to get into that. When I do find out, I will let you guys know. But yeah, as far as I know. Here, Simon Metcalf is saying, like Harold Shipman giving advice on geriatric care. I don't get the reference, but I'm sharing this because I'm sure other folks here will know. Someone will know. Bee's Knees says, more like Dahmer lecturing on the merits of vegetarian eating. That's a good one. I originally was going with the vegan thing, but I was like, excuse me. Oh, wait. This thing cracked me up. I've seen this meme 100 times already, but I saw this the other night. It was late. It was like 2:00 in the morning. And it's this guy holding a book saying how Biden stole the election. He's got a MAGA hat on. He opens up the book and it says he got more people to vote for him. And then the final panel says, I wish I could read. Okay. So last but not least, we have the trial of the century. No, it's not the trial of the century. It's not even the trial of the year. We'll call it the trial of the month, starting Monday. It is the election interference hush money trial. Lulu girl, thank you for the sticker. Thank you very much. She's enjoying our chat. It is the hush money case. Hush money. So here's a fun fact here, right? Stormy Daniels was paid $130,000 to be quiet, to not share the information about her dealings with Donald Trump, her sexual interlude with Donald Trump. Of course, even after he paid $130,000. Stormy Daniels didn't just tell people about it. She went on 60 Minutes. She went on 60 Minutes and told the shared lurid details about her dealings with Mr. Mushroom. And I have to share with you, and you guys will see why in a minute here. But this is very funny. It's very, very funny. Let's see. Ba-ba-ba-ba-da-ba. Wait, where is it? Here we go. Okay.
He was showing you his own picture on the cover of the magazine.
Right. And so I was like, does this normally work for you? And he looked very taken back, like he didn't really understand what I was saying. I was just, talking about yourself normally work. And I was like, someone should take that magazine and spank you with it. And I'll never forget the look on his face. And he was like,
What was the look?
just, I don't think anyone's ever spoken to him like that, especially, a young woman who looked like me. And I said, give me that. And I just remember going, you wouldn't. Hand it over. And so he did. And I was like, turn around, drop him.
You told Donald Trump to turn around and take off his pants?
Yes.
And did he?
Yes. So he turned around and pulled his pants down a little. He had underwear on and stuff. And I just gave him a couple swats.
He was showing you his own picture.
So, from that day on, after I saw that episode of 60 Minutes, from that day on, Donald Trump was Spanky McDumbass for me. Spanky because he enjoyed being spanked with a magazine with his face in the cover. That was where I got the idea for, not for the book, but just for his name. And you guys already know. You've many of you have already read The Littlest President, to be followed up soon by The Bigliest Loser. So yeah, last night, Lawrence O'Donnell was doing the intro to his show. And I love his intro. I love Lawrence O'Donnell because Lawrence has an unbridled hatred, very palpable hatred, seething hatred of Donald Trump. He doesn't hide it at all. Usually with these news commentary shows, you will see the host attempt to, preserve some sense of professionalism, and they'll maintain some journalistic distance from the person that they're discussing. None of that for Lawrence. Lawrence is done. He's all out of fucks for Donald Trump. And so last night he explains that that the jury selection is going to begin for Donald Trump in this case, and that Donald Trump has to be in court for this. This is not a civil trial. The civil trial, it was optional. This is a criminal trial where he has to be there. So, he said that people are going to be looking at him. And you know what? I did save this one too. So let me just, because this cracked me up. I couldn't. Here we go.
Sitting at the defense table. Is sitting at the defense table looking like this. Let's take that back down to a half screen of Donald Trump. Now, we normally don't allow Donald Trump to occupy your full television screen during this program. But for this one time, as you consider yourself sitting there on Monday in the position of a juror looking at him, let's look at what they will actually see without hearing a word from Donald Trump. And for that, we're going to go back to the full screen so you can take in what this man actually looks like now. Donald Trump is likely to be sitting there as he is in this recent campaign videos. That's a picture of him when he's trying to look his absolute best in his campaign video, which in his mind includes a face partially covered in some form of homemade bronzer in which he always forgets the ears. He always forgets his ears are visible, showing the real color of Donald Trump in contrast to the mud brown that he has decided makes him look his best. And to some eyes, actually makes him look like a horror movie character. That is not
It's so funny. Oh my God. Even listening to myself laugh again. Very, very funny. Oh my God. Lawrence is the best. He is the best. He got me with the horror show thing with the homemade forgetting the ears. He thinks he looks good. Oh my God. So, this was very, very interesting for me to have watched that movie Runaway Jury, and to have also watched Larry David in Curb Your Enthusiasm, participating in the jury selection process. Now, this is a very serious case. This is very serious. This is a crime. This is criminal trial. So the fact that he's got to be there every day and his behavior is going to be monitored. Bronzilla. Oh my God. Yeah. This is a guy who doesn't like being told what to do. He prefers telling people what he's going to do and telling people what to do. So, it's very serious. And here's a fun fact. 64% of Americans believe that this is a very serious trial. This hush money trial. What could possibly happen? This guy has spent the past few weeks three times trying to have this trial delayed. 3 times he failed. Why? If you believe you are innocent, why are you attempting to have the trial delayed? I would think if it's me and somebody's lying about me, man, you couldn't get me to slow things down. I want this out. You would think, you'd be vindicated. You want this thing over quickly, vindicated early, so that you win the election, right? Simon wants to know, at what point does his makeup become blackface? That's a good question. But yeah, he's not innocent. Chris Passeri says doesn't sound innocent at all. Not at all. Not at all. So we'll see. Oh, but here's another interesting thing that I saw the other day. He was giving one of his speeches, one of his rants, I guess, video rant, in which he proceeded to accuse President Biden of being a criminal. And I was like, well, wait a minute. That's not right. It's not right. Not that it's not right because it's not right for several reasons. A, he's not a criminal, but B, you, Donald Trump, your whole defense, your whole presidential immunity defense says that a president cannot be a criminal. Here, let me play this for you.
At what point are the actions of a sitting president using lawfare and weaponization against his opponent for purposes of election interference considered illegal? I believe, as do various highly respected legal scholars.
At what point is it considered illegal? Well, according to Donald Trump, you, as president, can order SEAL Team 6 to assassinate your opponent and not face any criminal liability for it. Continue.
I believe, as do various highly respected legal scholars, that crooked Joe Biden has long since crossed over that very sacred threshold.
No legal scholar believes this.
He is a criminal. He is a horrible president. He's the worst
Again, not a criminal.
president. He's the worst president in the history of our country.
That would be you. In fact, a whole group of historical scholars agree that Donald Trump is the worst president in the history of the United States.
And the only way he thinks he can get elected is to take me to trials, take me to courts, city, state, and federal.
He's already beaten your ass by 7 million votes with no court cases. Beat you like you stole something. Told you to shut up and then took your job.
They control them all. All of these cases that you're reading about are crooked Joe Biden's case because he can't put two sentences together.
Not only can Joe put two sentences together, he performed so strongly in the State of the Union address and performed strongly freaking every day he's given a speech somewhere. Performed so strongly, Donald Trump thought he was on drugs.
He can't do anything, so they weaponize government and they take me to court on bullshit. So
that's not presidential, dude. It's not. You see what President Biden does? He says BFD, or he'll do that sign of the cross thing. Come on, man. Come on.
So we are going to win. We're going to win big.
You've been saying you're going to win for years. All you do is lose.
We're going to go through these horrible Biden trials. And at the end of the day,
they are not Biden trials. Okay. President Biden appointed an attorney general. The United States Attorney General is Merrick Garland. Merrick Garland then appointed special counsels. And these special counsels are doing their investigations free and what's the word I'm looking for? Unbothered, I guess, by any influence from President Biden or Vice President Harris or even from their direct supervisor, from Merrick Garland. They're working independently. They are independent special counsels. And some of these cases are the result of grand juries serving your ass. So this trying to brand this as Biden juries and Biden trials, that's bullshit.
Today, November 5th, everyone's coming out to vote for Trump. Thank you very much.
November 5th, we're going to wax that ass. Guaranteed. Okay. Ooh, good one, Wilbur. Unencumbered. That's the word I wanted. Thank you for that. Untethered, also good. Bees Knees and unencumbered. I think unencumbered is the one. is the word. Thank you, guys. So yeah, so that's it. Monday, we're looking forward to the commencing of jury selection. Should be interesting. I will be very interested. I hope they allow cameras in the courtroom. Probably not going to expose the jurors to cameras. Yeah, that above all else, these folks have to be kept safe. They have to be led to believe that they are safe from reprisal from Donald Trump or any of his kooky, whacked out fans. Fun fact, excuse me, I've been called to jury duty twice. And I didn't want to participate in it. It's not like it was a trial like this, which I would never be able to pass the smell test on this. They would take one look at me and say, that's Brooklyn Dad. He hates Trump, and I'd be gone. But I remember one case where it was supposed to be a hospital was being sued because there were some birth defects in a child that was born, and the plaintiff was suing the hospital, saying that it was negligence and malpractice that caused these defects. And I just wanted out as quickly as possible. So I said, no, I can't be objective here. I'm going to be very biased against the hospital. I have 3 kids myself and blah, blah, blah. I really just wanted to be dismissed. I didn't, I saw they were paying somewhere between $12 and $18 a day. And I was like, no, no, I got a ton of work to do at the office. I can't be bothered with this, especially for $18 a day. So I made sure they knew that I should not be sitting on that jury. But the good question is going to be, can they find 12 people who can look at this case, if not with new eyes, with objective eyes? I would like to believe that they could find 6 people who are pro-Trump, but also, more importantly, they're ethical and they are pro-truth, and not pro-truth social, just pro-truth. We've gotten so far away from the concept of truth, with this. We've been bombarded with that freaking term fake news for past 8 years now. It's really sickening. I'm sick of the phrase myself. But yeah, we used to all have a shared truth. We used to be able to look up in the sky and say that sky is blue, or it's cloudy, or it's sunny. Our body politic wasn't fractured by all of these conspiracy theories, questioning the ground that we stand on. I would like to get back to a time where, we can both objectively look at a case and say, that motherfucker did it. He's guilty, regardless of political affiliation. That's all I got. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So, guys, thank you once again for joining me for another episode of Storytime with BDD. I'm your host, BDD, aka Brooklyn Dad. Remember, folks, that episode that tomorrow, I believe, is the article. I will be featured in an article in Raw Story, and apparently they told me that they are going to have a clip from my interview with Frank Figluzzi. So look out for that. Most likely I will find it and I will post it on my page. And then the first episode officially drops this Monday. I'm very excited to see what you guys think. Please subscribe to it. When you subscribe, you will get not one, but two episodes per week. 2 podcast episodes per week from yours truly, automatically downloaded to you. So, pineapple and anchovy. Trump Reaper says pineapple and anchovy pizza with mushrooms. Nope. Oh, is that you? Because me, I'm having just a frozen pizza with turkey pepperoni. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So you guys have a wonderful evening, rest of your evening. Have a terrific weekend. And I look forward to seeing you guys same place, same time, same place. I love you all. Peace.